Welcome to the Mind Design Sports Podcast. I'm Brandon, and in each episode, I'll be talking about sports psychology with the guest speaker. If you want to design your sports experience, you've come to the right place. If you want more tips and insights on how to improve your sports performance mentally, check out our website and other podcasts at mind-designsports.org. Nancy Clarck is an internationally respected sports nutritionist, weight coach, nutrition author, and workshop leader. She specializes in nutrition for performance and health. Nancy has provided her expertise for the Boston Celtics NBA team, Bruins NHL team, collegiate athletes, as well as many Olympic athletes. Also, she has been a team nutritionist for the Boston Red Sox baseball team. Nancy is the author of the best-selling sports nutrition reference, Nancy Clarck's Sports Nutrition Guidebook. Over 750,000 copies of her book has been enjoyed by health professionals and exercise enthusiasts. She has food guides for marathoners, cyclists, and even for women's soccer, all intended to optimize performance. Glad to be able to have you with us today, Nancy.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Sports Nutrition Guidebook, that sounds like everybody could read and benefit from. What are some things you wrote in there and that are just really good info for athletes?
The book's divided into three parts. One is just day-to-day eating on the run. I mean, I work with a lot of student athletes, and they kind of don't have time for breakfast, and they don't like school lunch, and then they go off to sports, and they're exercising on empty. So it talks about how do you manage your day-to-day eating for training, because you can only compete at your best if you can train at your best. And then there's a section on sports nutrition, fueling up, fueling during, refueling afterwards. A section on weight management if you want to gain weight or lose weight. And there are quick and easy recipes for sports foods that moms like to feed their kids and that are family friendly. So there's a lot of information for athletes as well as for families and for even people that aren't, athletes per se, but are interested in having good energy and good health. And as one mom said, she sent me an email saying, "Nancy, my teenage son spent the weekend reading your book." And she was just absolutely flabbergasted. I said, "No, it's interesting."
Cool. And the first section you said was about dieting, and the second's about sports diets.
The first section is on just day-to-day eating for your
Gotcha.
training diet. Yeah. The third section is on weight management.
Okay, perfect. On your website, you have a food guide for new runners. How does that guide and info you provided in that guide differ from the tips you would provide an experienced runner or athlete?
It's not terribly different. I actually wrote the food guide for new runners because the publisher thought that it would be a great idea. I'd written the food guide for marathoners. New runners tend to... many of them get into running because weight is a big issue, so it might be a little bit more weight focused. It also, new runners aren't running as fast, and so an elite runner might be more tempted to go with more gels or goos during a hard run, whereas a new runner might be content to have gummy bears or orange sections or raisins or something. But there's not a big difference. Both new runners and marathoners, elite runners, they all want to go the distance without running out of energy. And they all want to, fuel well so that they enjoy their runs and get the most out of their workouts.
Cool. Can you talk to us about your time with the more professional sports teams like the Boston Celtics or the Bruins?
When I worked with the Celtics years ago, when Larry Bird was there, and what was interesting is that, most of the players were like, what's this nutrition workshop? And then when Larry started asking questions, everybody listened. And they realized that, if Larry thinks that nutrition is important, I think we'd better pay attention too. And so when I was working with them, it's like back in the 1980s, and people didn't pay any attention to what they were eating. They just ate and played sports. And now we know that nutrition can really be the winning edge, and it really makes a huge difference in stamina and endurance and in recovery, injury prevention. So it's come a long ways.
Cool. Do you remember any questions that Larry Bird asked? Because I feel like that would be super interesting.
I think he was concerned about protein and vegetarian plant proteins, and just making sure that you could be a vegetarian athlete and still, get all the protein that you needed. He was also interested in just general, like, what do you eat before you exercise? I don't remember a lot, but those are, a couple of really common questions that people want to know, like, what do I eat before I train? And the answer is that you're either fueling up or you're refueling. It's one or the other. And your body wants, always carb protein combinations. So it could be cereal and milk, it could be bread and peanut butter, it could be chicken and rice, it could be spaghetti and meatballs. But one or the other, you're either fueling up or you're refueling. And that's always the focus of my talks with any team, that, food is fuel. It is not, oh, I don't have any time to eat. It's like, no, 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 no. If you're responsible enough to be a serious athlete and show up for practices and for games, you have to be responsible enough to show up for food, because it matters.
Yeah, agreed. After a competition, is that when you should be refueling up, or is that the fueling up?
After you exercise, your muscles have been depleted of energy, of carbohydrates. It's called muscle glycogen. And you need to replace that with grains and fruits and vegetables. So if you practice in the afternoon, what you have for dinner, say if you have chicken and rice and broccoli, then the chicken and rice refuel your muscles, and the rice and the broccoli, the carbohydrate refuels your muscles, and the protein builds and repairs your muscles. And then you have some more food before you go to bed. So you have some cereal and milk before you go to bed. Again, carb, protein, carbs to refuel, protein to build and repair. When you get up in the morning and have your breakfast and lunch, that's what fuels you up for your afternoon practice. And so as an athlete, I say you're either fueling up for your practice or you're refueling afterwards.
Got it. In a couple of your handouts, I saw that boosting your iron intake is important. Can you talk about that?
Yes, iron is particularly important because iron is important for carrying oxygen from your lungs to your muscles. And if you have iron poor blood, or which is called anemia, then your muscles don't get the oxygen that they need in order to perform well. And so athletes that are anemic and don't get enough iron just get easily fatigued. Now, this can be a problem with teenagers because you're growing and your blood volume is expanding. But if you have a diet that's low in iron, say like if you aren't eating any red meat, or you aren't eating any cereal that's enriched with iron, then you might have a low intake of iron and you might become anemic, and you might end up wondering, why am I so tired all the time? Why can't I run as fast as I used to? Why do I get winded like going up the stairs? And you need to get a blood test done to figure out if you are indeed anemic. But you can help prevent that by eating breakfast cereals that are enriched with iron, like most cereals by Kellogg's, General Mills, Post, Great Grains or Honey Bunches of Oats or Cheerios or Grape Nuts, Wheaties, Bran Flakes are all enriched with iron. Darker chicken, like chicken thighs, have more iron than the white meat chicken. Red meat, like say a lean roast beef sandwich or some extra lean hamburger in your spaghetti sauce is a source of iron. So that it is possible to get it through food, but I know many days athletes are not eating as much red meat. Some athletes aren't. And they also are eating these all-natural breakfast cereals like granola. And if it's all natural, it has nothing added to it, which means it has no iron added to it. So you just want to mix and match your cereals. Read the label and see what percentage of the daily value, the DV, is listed on the label for iron. And then you can tell if it's a good source or if it's a poor source.
Got it. Also, Everyone knows like to eat carbs and proteins, but what are some other things like besides iron intake that people should be boosting?
Well, they should be boosting their intake of calories. I mean, that's just gas in the car. And I'd be looking at grains, fruits, vegetables. These are the carbohydrate-rich foods. So if you have oatmeal for breakfast or a bowl of cereal with banana and milk in it, if you have snack on you could snack on pretzels, you could snack on bananas, you could snack on raisins. If your dinner has potato, rice, noodles, or pasta in it, I know that some families, they're on a low carbohydrate diet, so that they might just have chicken and green beans, but no rice or pasta. And so you want to make sure that your dinners have some sort of starchy food in it, because that's what you really need to be able to fuel your muscles optimally. It's hard to get enough carbohydrates just from fruits and vegetables alone.
Okay. What are your thoughts on fiber?
Fiber, some fiber is good. Too much fiber is a problem. I got an email from a runner who said, Nancy, I started eating, I want to be more plant-based, so I started eating a lot more beans. And so we'd have a lot more, chickpeas in a salad and a lot more chili with beans in it, hummus made with chickpeas. And he was eating a lot more plant proteins which beans are a good source of plant protein. And he was getting too much fiber. And then he said, I have to stop for pit stops along my runs. And, some athletes eat way too much between whole wheat breads and lots of fruits and lots of vegetables and lots of beans, and they get too much fiber. But the bigger problem is that most teenagers really don't get enough of it, and they want to be thinking of having more like whole wheat bread or oatmeal bread instead of white bread, having more whole grain cereals than Captain Crunch, But even a lot of the cereals these days have fiber added to them. Even the sugary cereals do, are made from whole grains. Triscuits, popcorn, those are all whole grains that are good sources of muscle fuel as well as fiber. And fiber helps to have regular bowel movements, and it also tends to come with a lot of wholesome nutrients that just helps to keep the body running well.
Cool. What is your advice to younger athletes? Maybe like some of the problems that you see them in their diets or what they eat?
The problem that I see is that they get many student athletes skip breakfast. They sleep through breakfast. They don't like school lunch. And then they they get way too hungry and they start craving sweets. When you get too hungry, you tend to crave candy, chocolate, sugar, cookies. And then they eat a bunch of, these foods with little nutritional value, and they just aren't investing in their health. I mean, as an athlete, you have two jobs. One is to have plenty of energy to prevent fatigue, and the other is to eat well so that if you get injured, you heal quickly, or maybe you can help prevent that injury or that illness by good nutrition. So the biggest problem is skipped meals, getting too hungry, and eating a bunch of junk. So you want to make sure that you eat food at breakfast, and you want at least 3, if not 4 kinds of foods with a meal. So you don't have just a packet of oatmeal. You have oatmeal plus cook it in milk, plus add in a banana and some peanut butter. And then you get the oatmeal is grains to fuel your muscle. The milk is calcium for your bones as well as some protein. The banana is more fruits and vegetables is a source of fruit for vitamins. And if you put in some peanut butter in it, then you get more protein for building and repairing your muscles. So, each different kind of food has a different purpose. That's really important for student athletes in particular when they're growing, to make sure that their body has the tools it needs to grow as well as to perform well, build muscle. and heal from injuries.
Yeah. Student athletes always have practice almost every day. So what are some of the best breakfasts that you recommend?
The best breakfast is a breakfast that you'll eat. So if it's breakfast on the run, it could be peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It could be apple and cheese. It could be leftover pizza. If it's breakfast at home, cereal, milk, and fruit is good. Eggs, toast, and glass of orange juice is excellent. Peanut butter on a bagel and a cup of yogurt would be excellent. So any breakfast is better than no breakfast. And what you eat at breakfast and lunch is really important for enhancing your performance in the afternoon. And they've done studies with athletes who skip breakfast, and they just gave them, a bigger lunch. They didn't perform as well as when they had both breakfast and lunch, for their afternoon practice.
Got it. Should you be eating meals or snacks before a competition?
It's fine to eat a snack before a competition. If it's a meal, you probably want to wait an hour or two because it takes an hour or two for food to empty from your stomach. If you're going to be exercising really hard, you probably don't want a lot of food in your stomach. So generally a meal, athletes might eat 2 or 3 hours beforehand. So say if you have a football game at 1 in the afternoon, then maybe you have a big brunch at 9 or 10 in the morning. And then right before the game, maybe you have a banana, some crackers, an energy bar, granola bar, just a little bit of something, 200, 300 calories of something to, keep you energized for the game.
Okay. Can some foods have help to ease anxiety before the games?
Does food ease anxiety? If you're anxious about running out of energy, yes, eating something would ease that anxiety. But I'm not familiar with foods that ease anxiety. I would say take a deep breath, relax, practice visualization. But if you are very anxious and have a hard time eating, you want to eat foods that are very simple to digest. Maybe it's pretzels, saltines, some oatmeal, maybe some plain pasta, some toast, English muffin, a bagel, something simple that your body can tolerate. Because lots of times when people are anxious, their stomach gets tied up in knots, and the last thing they want to do is eat. And so I'd say you want to, if you know that you will be too anxious before a game, make sure, say if you've got a 11 o'clock soccer game on a Saturday morning, make sure you get up early and have a big breakfast, and then that'll carry you through the soccer game. If you're playing in the afternoon and you're anxious, make sure you have, a big breakfast and as much lunch as you can tolerate. So then you'll have the gas in the tank. That'll carry you through the afternoon practice if you can't have a granola bar beforehand.
Okay, cool. You have some info on weight control in athletes. What should athletes know about that?
If generally in the high school level, guys want to gain weight and the gals want to lose weight. So if you're wanting to gain weight, what you want to know is you don't need extra protein. You don't need to be eating protein bars and protein shakes and protein powders. You just need to eat food and balanced meals that include protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you can get extra calories just by, instead of drinking water, where athletes get thirsty, start drinking more orange juice or pineapple juice or cranberry juice or grape juice or milk or chocolate milk. And those foods can replace water because they are 99% water. You don't have to drink water to get water. And so, but in that water, you get added calories that can go toward helping you, build your muscles and get your body to bulk up a little bit. But exercise is what causes muscles to grow bigger. So the juices or extra fruits or dried fruits, extra calories that come from carbohydrates will give you the energy that you need to do the muscle building exercise. But eating a high protein diet does not convert into extra muscle. It's exercise, weightlifting, push-ups that's what triggers the muscles to go bigger. So if you're a guy, just drink more calories of milks and juices, and that'll add some extra calories for helping you to add the weight that you want. If you're wanting to lose weight, the name of the game is you need to eat breakfast, eat lunch, have a pre-exercise snack, play well, have plenty of energy, and then at night eat a little bit less. And that's kind of the opposite of what most student athletes do. They tend to have dinner be their biggest meal of the day. Well, I want breakfast and lunch to be your bigger meals of the day, so that you sort of front load your calories. And so you put gas in the car at the start of the day, and then you eat a little bit less at night, and you lose weight when you're sleeping. So the goal, if you want to lose weight, the goal is to wake up ready for breakfast. If you wake up with a food hangover in the morning and not hungry at all, that means that you ate too much last night. But if you wake up ready for breakfast, then you can go, aha, I lost weight last night when I was sleeping. So you lose weight when you're sleeping, but not when you're trying to train or not when you're trying to study at school. So that you need to fuel by day, and then you can diet by night.
Oh, that's great advice. For the boys, you said that they should be drinking more orange juice. Why would you want to do protein as well?
Your body can use just so much protein. And most student athletes that I know they already get plenty of protein, but they don't get enough carbohydrate. And it's the carbohydrate that fuels the muscles. Protein builds and repairs the muscles. So you want adequate protein for certain. But you really need just extra calories. And if the extra calories come from carbohydrate, then your muscles are better fuel, so then you can lift better. But juices are also, it's a way of getting fruit into the body. And most student athletes that I know don't eat a lot of fruit. And sometimes people think, oh, orange juice is just all sugar water or whatever. It's like, no, a glass of orange juice, 8 ounces of orange juice gives you all the vitamin C you need for the day. And so it does have nutritional value, and it's part of a breakfast. I mean, people stop drinking juice if they stop drinking orange juice because they think, oh, it's just too much sugar, which it is not. Then they don't start eating an orange instead. They just go without fruit. So I see a deficit of fruit to be very common among high school kids, high school athletes. And so juice is one way to get that. But it's also a way to get easy calories. Like I say, instead of drinking water, it's no extra effort to drink a glass of juice.
Okay, I see. And could you just give us an example of healthy, like increasing your weight healthily versus unhealthily?
Well, increasing your weight healthfully is adding, some quality calories to each meal and not chowing down on a bag of potato chips at the end of the day or ice cream at the end of the day. So you want to, put premium nutrition in your car, in your gas tank. And so you want to eat quality calories and not a bunch of so-called junk food. And I'd like to see those quality calories come with a bigger breakfast, a bigger lunch. Instead of having one sandwich at lunch, have 2 sandwiches or 1.5 sandwiches. Instead of having 1 milk at lunch, have 2 milks. At breakfast, instead of having 1 English muffin, have 2 English muffins, with some extra peanut butter on it and add in a yogurt. And that said, I don't really encourage kids to force feed themselves, because the day will come when, or should I say, I've had a lot of athletes who were talk about how they were very skinny in high school. And then they started force feeding. The coach said, oh, eat a lot more food, go eat a pint of ice cream at night to gain weight. And then they, 10 years later, they waddle into my office saying, 10 years ago, I used to be really skinny. Look at me now. So there's a lot of weight gain that occurs just with aging. And the body that you have as a freshman in high school is not the body that you have as a sophomore in high school, or a junior or a senior in high school, or a freshman in college, or a senior in college. So in the teen years, the body changes a lot. And you kind of want to let the body do what the body does and not, like I say, try to manipulate it by stuffing in extra food to gain weight, because the weight gain will happen. But that said, you don't want to undereat either. Yeah, but you want to listen to your body, and when it's hungry, feed it, and when it's content, stop eating.
It's kind of tricky, and I know you want to have the balance. So do you like carb loading, or is that only for like runners and the cardio sports?
Well, every day you should be carb loading if the definition of carb loading is having each meal be based on grains and fruits and vegetables. Those are all carbohydrate-rich foods. So you can only compete at your best if you can train at your best. And you can only train at your best if your muscles are well fueled. So every day, as a foundation of each meal, you want to eat cereal or bagels for breakfast. You want to have sandwiches for lunch and not just a salad. You want to have some potato or rice or noodles or pasta with dinner and not just the protein. And if you do this on a daily basis, then you can train at your best. And the important thing before an event is to taper off your exercise so you're not exercising as much, so the muscles have plenty of time to totally refuel from having been depleted during training. Now, if you're lifting weights, you also deplete your muscles of glycogen. So even people that are weightlifting need to have carbohydrates and think about eating a carb-based diet on a daily basis. You just don't pull out a plate of pasta on Friday night before the game on Saturday, because you've missed the boat. And if you've been living on burgers and fries and a lot of fatty foods during the week, they might fill your stomach, but they don't refuel your muscles.
Okay, cool. I'm going to be shifting my questions to drinks now. So, what do you think about caffeine? Is it the same as energy drinks and like Gatorade?
Caffeine is in energy drinks. The problem isn't caffeine. The problem is, why do you think you need caffeine? Are you getting enough sleep? So sleep is a very important part of a sports diet and of a training program. And so if you really want to enhance your performance, you make sleep a priority, and you just don't try to drink coffee as a stimulant to get you through your games or your workouts. So I'm not an advocate of caffeine for kids. I'm an advocate of sleep.
In that case, why would anybody advocate for it? Like, are there any good benefits of it?
Well, it's known to make the effort seem easier. So if an athlete is well rested and well fueled, and then they have some caffeine, then it can just make the effort seem easier so that they can exercise harder without realizing that they're going harder. So first, you have to get enough sleep. Second, you need to eat well and optimize your diet. And then if you've done that, there can be a conversation about caffeine. But if you're exhausted and eating poorly and reaching for an energy drink, you're not going to perform at your best.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. What are supplements? Are those like just protein, or are they include vitamins? And do you recommend any?
Well, a supplement is to supplement a healthy diet. So a protein diet, a protein supplement would supplement the eggs or peanut butter or chicken that you eat in your meals. Most teenage athletes that I know do not need a protein supplement because they're getting plenty of protein in their diet. A vitamin supplement supplements vitamins. If you're eating a lousy sports diet, not having many fruits or vegetables or quality calories, you might be low on vitamins. But you can take a vitamin pill, but you still need to eat well anyway, because there's so many other things in foods besides vitamins that you want to eat well. And then if you eat well, you don't need a vitamin pill. So I teach people how to get the nutrients that they need through the foods that they are eating. I am, in general, I am not an advocate for supplements. There is a time and a place for them. If you're anemic, you need to take an iron supplement. You also need to eat iron-rich foods to prevent that from happening again. So it's a conversation, and this is where anyone who's concerned about the quality of their diet, that they want to meet with a sports nutritionist, a registered dietitian who specializes in sports nutrition. And you can find that person by Googling sports nutrition in the town where you live. Or you can go to a website called eatright.org, EATRIGHT, eatright.org, and there's a referral network, and you could search for a sports nutritionist in your zip code area.
Got it. Also, I know a couple of people that really just eat terrible food most of their week. So like they'll eat fast food because they don't really have time and their parents don't cook for them. What would you tell them? Like any advice?
I would tell them that you can go to any fast food place and make a wise choice. I mean, Chipotle or Taco Bell, you get the bean burritos. And the burrito is one of the best high quality fast foods around with get the most amount of nutrition for the least amount of calories. And it's a carb protein combination. And that would be good. If you're getting pizza, you put on peppers and onions, but not pepperoni. Stay away from the greasy stuff, and you get thick crust pizza because that will give you the carbohydrates that fuel your muscles. If you're picking up a sandwich at Panera, that's fine. You get turkey and cheese and bread. So you can go to a fast food place and eat well, or you can just save yourself a bundle of money. And peanut butter and jelly is one of the best sports foods around. So or a peanut butter and banana sandwich and a glass of milk would be excellent. So no time is a poor excuse. If you have time to show up to train, you need to find time to fuel for training. It's that important.
Interesting. Athletes that want to play at the top level exercise constantly. It's obviously good since they are working hard, but how can it be bad? Maybe like it stunts growth because they're not getting enough rest, or is that a myth?
I would be more concerned about overuse injuries with high school kids that are growing and doing the same repetitive motions time and time again. It's just a crime. I just feel so badly for athletes who in their high school years, they do the same sport, they get a career-ending injury, that maybe they get a bad back or they dislocate their shoulder or have bad knees that just stay with them for the rest of their life. So you don't want to exercise a lot when you're growing. You want to exercise enough, but not excessively, and not to get overuse injuries. So variety of sports is important. Time off from sports is important so the body can heal and grow the way it's supposed to. So just not to get overzealous, because a career-ending injury at a high school level is really depressing.
Yeah. I know you bike and run. So since you're kind of an athlete, what tips do you have related to nutrition or the mental side of things from your experience?
That food is fuel, and the E in exercise is for enjoyment. And if you fuel well, you enjoy the exercise a lot better. It's a lot more satisfying. You perform better, you feel better. And, it's more fun to win with good nutrition than it is to lose with, a hungry stomach. So I just know that food makes a really big difference in how much I enjoy my sports and how well I perform. And that's why I'm passionate about teaching what I know to share it with other athletes so that they too can experiment with a proper sports diet and realize that it's worth the effort and that you feel better, you perform better, and you also feel better about yourself because you're doing the right thing.
Perfect. My last question is, can you talk about glycemic foods? Are high or low ones better? And what does that even mean?
Well, glycemic refers to a food elevating the level of blood glucose in the level of glucose in your bloodstream. So something like white bread is said to have a high glycemic load, that you eat white bread and your blood sugar shoots up. But I don't pay a lot of attention to the glycemic index because generally you just don't have white bread. You have bread with peanut butter, and that changes the whole glycemic effect of the food. So I would just pay more attention to quality calories, fruits, vegetables, wholesome breads and cereals and grains, lean proteins, low-fat dairy, and just get a variety of different quality foods and not worry about the glycemic effect of a food.
Got it. Any other tips, thoughts, or anything else you wanted to add it on?
Yes, I would say if people have found interesting information in this podcast, I would, of course, highly recommend Nancy Clarck's Sports Nutrition Guidebook. And as I say, teenagers read it, adults read it, athletes of all ages have gotten a lot of information and given me good feedback on it. It's really how to, or what do I do? What do I eat before I exercise? What do I eat to recover? How do I manage eating on the run? How do I lose weight and have energy to exercise? So it really goes into all the questions that athletic people tend to have. I would also encourage you to meet with a sports dietitian if you have questions and concerns. You want to choose someone who's a registered dietitian, so after their name are the letters RD, registered dietitian. They might also have CSSD after their name, which is even better. That means that they're board certified as a specialist in sports dietetics. So CSSD, Certified Specialist in Sports Dietetics. And these are people that specialize in sports nutrition and that they can really help you by offering one-on-one advice that fits your sport, your lifestyle, your growth, where you are on your growth curve, and give you personalized advice that will help you to have a winning sports diet and help you reach your sports goals.
Well, I thought this podcast was super informative, and thank you for being here again, Nancy.
Well, this has been my pleasure. And if people have questions, they're welcome to go to my website and send me an email via the Contact Nancy button. My website is nancyclarkrd.com. So NancyClarkrd. So www.nancyclarkrd.com. You might find some other good information there. I have a blog that is popular and has all sorts of sports nutrition tips. And like I say, if you have other questions, you can shoot me an email.
Great. Thank you again.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the My Design Sports podcast. Before you leave, please show some love for the podcast by subscribing, liking, and commenting. Stay tuned for next month's podcast with a new guest speaker.